One of those rates, though, started under your government, though. So if you blame the current government for the same thing, doesn't this just show that governments are powerless when it comes to this?
Well, I heard the Treasurer say that yesterday. I thought it was a pathetic response. The rate rises started
It's accurate,
at a certain date. Well, yes, but we are seeing the 9th consecutive rate rise, and that's 8 rises under this government. More importantly, we're seeing no economic plan. When did you last hear the Prime Minister actually accept the pain that ordinary Australians are feeling, or even talk about it, or even suggest an economic plan to do something about it? I was in, as I last spoke to you in Melbourne, I think, Pete, and we had some roundtables with small businesses. At those roundtables were food relief organisations. We've heard that Woolworths is increasing its food relief effort by over 20%. And I spoke to some amazing community organisations on the front line there, and they're just giving you that story, quite frankly, that people are running out of the money they need to pay their normal household grocery bills. And remember too, when it comes to small business, they've often mortgaged their family home to start the business they love, that they work on, 24/7, that means so much to them. Their house is mortgaged because of that business. So there is real pain facing Australian households today. And I don't see a response from this government or even a decent recognition. You will always pay more under Labor.
The Governor, Philip Lowe, has made some extraordinary errors throughout the course of this time. Now some have claimed that he's too aggressive when lag time should be taken into account. Do you have full confidence in the RBA?
Look, I'm not going to criticise the RBA. The government can cast around and find people to point the finger at, and I'm not suggesting it's actually criticising the RBA either, although some parliamentarians are. These institutions in Australia have stood us in good stead, the independence of the Reserve Bank. What I see here is a government that fails to recognise the pain that its economic policy is causing, the pain to ordinary Australians, or even acknowledge those broken promises. Because remember, when they came into government, they made these promises that you would have cheaper mortgages, that you would have cheaper power prices, that no Australians would be left behind. When under Anthony Albanese, everything is going up except your wages.
The Greens made a bold claim yesterday to override the RBA's decision using the RBA Act. Would you support that at all?
Not at all, and we often see some extreme claims from the Greens, and I think we'll just leave that one exactly where it is.
OK, you mentioned that the government should be doing more because ultimately Australian households are the ones who get punished for all of this. So what is your answer to this? How do you fix it? How do you make life easier?
Well, the most important thing is for the government to have an economic plan. But in my portfolio area, Pete, which is industry and small business, they're taking the National Reconstruction Fund legislation, they're rushing it through the Parliament. Another example of rushed legislation. It's a $15 billion fund. It's not wise expenditure. These off-budget vehicles have been recommended against by the International Monetary Fund, and it's another example of what we saw during the election campaign when Labor took more spending than we did to the election and is not showing the restraint or the sensible economic management that is required. Now, this fund, if they manage to rush it through, which they're trying to do, will immediately release $5 billion, and then the remaining $10 billion will not require any parliamentary scrutiny. Yes, we need a manufacturing policy. We had a very sensible one, which industry actually respected, recognised and understood our sovereign manufacturing capability needs in this country. So, I can talk in detail about this fund, and I will in the Parliament, but it is just one example of Labor being careless with money and always knowing that in the background, if they don't have enough money, they can come after yours, and their attack on the Stage 3 tax cuts, which is just around the corner, is another example of that.
OK, Sussan Ley, we'll have to leave it there. Sussan Ley, live from Canberra, thank you so much.